she's really mind-boggling. It just take a little patience because we have to read through a few psukim. But what happens here is like this. Avraham Avinu on page 106. So Avraham Avinu now needs to bury Sarah. Okay, now you have to stay with me on this all the way. So starting in Pasuk Gimel, it says like this: Vayakam Avraham me'al pnei meso. Avram arises from his how does he say, his dead? How does the Arabs go? What's the nice way for that? He rose from the presence of his dead. Yeah, that's a difficult. Be'al pnei meso. V'yidaber el b'nei ches leimor. Okay, everybody see is the fourth line. Now you have to stay with this. We're going to read a few psukim. Ger v'toshav anochi imochem. Tenu li achuz, I am a sojourner among you. Tenu li achuzas kever imochem. Please give me a grave site. Ve'ekbira mesi mofanai, and I will bury my dead. Now, pay attention very carefully. You notice that when Avraham Avinu mentions it the first time, he says, I will bury my dead. The burial comes before the death. Okay? Pasuk, the next pasuk. Ve'anu b'nei chesed Avram le'imor lo shma'inu Adoni nasi Elokim ata b'zochenu b'mivchar kverecha, in your choice of our graves, kvor es meisecha, bury your dead. And again, the bury comes before the dead. Okay? Now, look at the next line. Ish mimenu es kivro lo yichlam yicha, nobody will withhold mikvor beisecha, from burying your dead. Okay? And again, burial before the dead. Now, skip down to Pasuk Ches, Pasuk 8, 6 lines from the bottom. Vayidaber itam lemor, im yeshes nafshechem likbor es mesi mofanai. If you will allow me to bury my dead, again, bury comes before dead. Shma'uni ufiguli be'Ephron ben Sochar. Find this man named Ephron. V'yitanli, we'll get back to Ephron in a few minutes. V'yitanli es baras ha'machbela asher lo asher v'gzeisad b'kesav malit nenli b'zochem lachuzas kaver, as a grave site. V'Ephron yoshev b'zoch b'nei ches. V'yan Ephron achiti es Avram b'ozdev b'nei ches. Ephron says to Avram in front of every l'chol bo yishariro, lemor, lo adoni shma'eni, listen to me, hasadan asati lach, I'll give you the field, I don't want to sell it. And the cave that is there I'll give you. In front of all my people I've given it to you. Kivor meisecha, bury your dead. Again, which word comes first? Bury before dead. Avram bows. Take the money, the ekbera, and I will bury esmesi shama. I will bury my dead there. And again, bury before dead. Now, what's 400 shekel between friends? In your dead you shall bury. Okay, now, you'll notice, 6 times over here, it says, bury the dead, bury before dead. The 7th time, and last time, it says, your dead you shall bury. Okay, and there's no typos in Torah. All right, what's going on here? So, to understand this, we need 2 introductions. First of all, what is this cave they're talking about? Which cave is it that Abraham's trying to buy? The Machpelah cave, the famous Machpelah cave, where the Avos are buried, over in Hebron, right? Which is not a great place to go right now. I think this week there are going to be a lot of people in Hebron, right? There's Chayei Sorah week. Not from the yeshiva. The yeshiva was supposed to go? Oh, the army canceled visits to Chayei Sorah to Hebron this week? Yeah, I would, I wouldn't go personally. I mean, I'm Kohen, so it doesn't do me any good to it. But in general, it's a good place to avoid right now. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the Machpelah cave. Okay, now, how many people are buried in the Machpelah cave?
8.
How many?
8.
8 people. Very good. Who are they?
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Chava, Avram and Sarah, Yitzhak and Rivka, Jacob and Leah. Very good. Okay. Now, at this point in time, how many people are in the cave when Avram's talking? Just two. Just Adam and Chava. Adam and Eve are in this cave already. Okay, that's why one of the reasons it's called Ma'aras HaMachpelah, because according to some, it's coupled up. You got couples in there. You got the pairs who are buried there. Adam and Chava are buried there. Then Avraham and Sarah. Okay, now, there's an interesting statement the Talmud makes. The Talmud says that tzaddikim, remember I think we mentioned this yesterday, tzaddikim, when they're dead, are called alive. And the Rishoyim, wicked people, even when they're alive, they're called dead. Okay, now, what happens to a tzaddik is buried, and then, but okay, we see him as being dead, but really the burial comes before the death, because even after he dies, he's really alive. So if you were describing the burial process of a tzaddik, you'd say you bury the dead, because you're burying a person, but he's really alive, and you're burying him, and then, according to certain sources, 1 moment before the resurrection of the dead, he actually dies. So you bury him, and then he dies after the burial, because it's only 1 moment before the resurrection that he actually dies, right? Now, the people who are going to be buried in the cave there's 6 more tzaddikim to be buried in the cave: Avraham and Sarah, Yitzhak and Rivka, Yaakov and Rachel, Yaakov and Leah. So the correct description of those 6 people, if they saying it in the Torah, is you're dead, because you're talking about tzaddikim. You follow? Right? Now, if you're going to bury a wicked person, how would you say it? You'd say, you're dead, you shall bury. Because he's dead even before you bury him. He was dead even before he died, he was dead. Now, remember, gentlemen, who else is in the Ma'aras HaMachpelah? There's one other item in the Ma'aras HaMachpelah. What's that? Esav's head. Remember Esav's head when he's trying to protest against Yaakov Avinu being buried? So then Chushim ben Dan came from behind him and he gave him a good karate chop, knocked his head off, the Medrash says, and his head rolled into the Ma'aras HaMachpelah. So, in fact, how many more have to go into the cave at the beginning of this parsha? Actually, 7. There's 7 that are going to go into the cave. They're the 6 tzaddikim and Esav's head. But Esav's a Russia. So how would you describe Esav? I describe it as if you're dead, you shall bury. Everybody else is you bury your dead. So the 6 times that it says bury the dead is referring to the 6 tzaddikim. Then the last time is you're dead, you shall bury. That's referring to Esav's head, which is going to go into the Ma'aras HaMachpelah. That's what the Vilna Gaon says. That's what the Torah is alluding to over here. No accidents, no typos in the Torah. That's the idea. Now, you have over here another lesson. Take a look, go back for a second, to this man Ephron. This man Ephron's got the cave in his property. Now, what does the word afar mean in Hebrew? What does the word afar mean? Anybody know?
Dust.
Dirt. With aleph, it's dust. With an ayin, it's really dirt. Sometimes they're used interchangeably. This man's name is Ephron. Ephron is the dirt. He's a dirt bag. That's what Ephron is. What kind of name is that? This is the guy Avram's going to buy. And what happens over here? Avram says, "Here, I'd like to buy the cave off you." "No, take it for free." "No, I'd like to buy it. Take it for free." "No, I really want to pay for it." "All right, what's 400 shekel kesef between friends?" Which is an exorbitant amount of money for some cave land, for burial ground. Absolutely exorbitant price of money. So this Ephron goes from one extreme, seems to go from one extreme to another, and that's why he's referred to as dirt. He's the example used in Pirkei Avos when it says, "Emor ma'at," say little, "va'aseh harbe," and do a lot. In other words, what do we call it in English? Actions speak louder than words. Let your actions speak for you. Don't talk. Let your actions speak for you. Ephron is held up as he says he'll do it for free, and in the end, not only doesn't do it for free, goes to the opposite, he charges an exorbitant price. Who's held up as the example of the opposite? The example of the opposite is Avraham Avinu. In Pirkei Avos, they cite Avraham Avinu. Where does Avraham Avinu do that? Where do we find Avraham Avinu talk little and do a lot?
Beginning of the other parsha.
What does he do?
Come have a morsel of bread.
Yes. Come have a bite of bread in my house, and he brings them out a repast. All right, come into my house, I'll give you a cup of tea. You bring out cake and cookies and fruit. Say a little, do a lot. Let your actions do the talking. I still remember when, I mentioned this in the past, it's such a Musar lesson. When I was a kid, Muhammad Ali, Remember the boxer Muhammad Ali? I don't know if you guys, I don't know what's going on nowadays. You guys have heard of him? Is he still a legend, Muhammad Ali? Okay. So Muhammad Ali fought, I was always Ali when I fought my brother. My brother was always, I made him be Frazier and I was always Ali. And Frazier was a lefty, by the way. I made him be Ali and then I'd wail on him. But what's that? You're a Tyson guy, yeah. So my brother and I would, we'd fight. So he was always Frazier and I was Ali. So Frazier fought Kenny Norton. And Frazier was Ali fought Norton. Ali was a great talker. He was very funny. He was a great talker. He actually got Frazier before one of their big fights. He had Frazier crying. He actually talked to Frazier. Wasn't too sophisticated. And Ali was a great talker, and he actually tormented him. He got Frazier to cry. He was cried. So they had 3 fights. Ali won 2 of them. So he fought Kenny Norton, and he was talking about what he's going to do to Norton. He's going to destroy Norton, this, that, and the other. Norton broke his jaw, won the fight. Kenny Norton broke Ali's jaw. So I still remember the caption in Time magazine. You got a big picture of Ali's swollen jaw, broken jaw. He just lost the fight. And the caption, I think I was maybe 12 years old, 13 years old, the caption was, "The jaw is broken, but the mouth lives on." That was the caption. You stop and think to yourself, so what did you gain? You talked, and you lost. You talked and you lost. What did you gain from all that? So in Torah we have if you've got something, if you do something good, people will hear about it. And if you don't do something good, why should people hear about it at all? What do you want to tell people about it? Number one. Number two, there's another rule in life. The rule in life is the less you talk about your plans, the less aggravation you'll cause yourself. Never happy you say, oh yeah, by the way, we're planning on going in a couple of weeks, we're going to Florida. Then something cancels, the great aunt dies or something, you couldn't go. Then every time, how was Florida? No, we didn't go, we had my aunt, So then you got egg on your face. If you go to Florida, you'll come back and tell people afterwards, what do you got to announce it for? The more you announce things, the more you open yourself up to disappointment and aggravation. That's a rule in life. Ephron, now, I want to show you what the commentaries say about him. Take a look back on page 106, Pasuk Yud. So the commentaries point out about this guy Ephron. It's on page 106, it's 2 lines from the bottom of the page. So Avraham Avinu says, hey, I want to get the Marasa Machpelah. So he says, find Ephron. So then the Torah says like this, 2 lines from the bottom. The Ephron Yoshev Besoch B'nei Ches. Ephron is sitting among the B'nei Ches. Vayan Ephron Achiti es Avram. He says to Avram, Be'oznei B'nei Ches, in the ears of the people, and within their earshot, he says, the Chol Ba'ishariro, in front of everybody, Lamor. Lo Adoni, no my master, Shma'eni, Hasada Nasati Lach, I'm giving you the field. Ve'ameora asher b'lochon hazatiyah, take it. Le'enei b'nei ami, in front of all my people, Nisatiyah lach kvar meisach, I give it to you in front of all my people. So the commentaries say, Ephron's secret lies in that pasuk. He's really saying to Avram Avinu, no, listen to me. Lo Adoni Shma'eni, listen to me, but hear me good what I'm saying. I'm giving it to you in front of all my people. But you understand that I'm not. In front of my people, I'm putting on a show of giving it to you. But I expect money here. I put on a show. My people hear me saying I'm going to give it to you, and my people see that I'm giving it to you, but I want you to understand, Shma'ini doesn't just mean hear me. Shma'ini means understand me. Right? Sometimes husbands and wives have a disagreement, whether or not the wife says, you're not listening. He said, yeah, I heard every word you said. Right? Ever hear one of those? Husband's reading the newspaper, the wife says, Harold, you're not listening. I heard every word you said. The wife says, you're not listening with your eyes. Right? By women, listening means with the eyes, right? But it means another thing. Oh, I heard what you said. Yes, then why aren't you doing it? In other words, hearing could also mean obeying, and it could mean understanding. Oh, you heard me, but apparently you didn't understand me. Because when I said that I would like you to drive with me right now to visit my aunt, Arlene, her name is always Arlene, right? Let's go to Aunt Arlene, and you're not moving, that means you didn't understand me. That means, let's go. And he also didn't understand that if you don't, there will be no dinner tonight. So let's go. That's what you're supposed to understand when she said, let's go to Aunt Arlene. So when he says, no, I want you to hear me. He means, I want you to understand me. I expect payment for this. Now, skip down a few psukim, and then look at very interesting when the Torah sums up the entire deal. In Pasuk 16. 8 lines to the top of the page, Pasuk 16. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Vayishma Avraham el Ephron. Avram listens to Ephron. Vayishkol Avram le Ephron es hakesef asher diber b'nei b'nei ches. Avram gives Ephron the money. Arba meos shekel kesef over l'sokecher. 400 shekel kesef, the finest coins, which even all merchants will accept them. Now you'll notice over here, look at the last time it mentions Ephron. Look at what it says. Vayishkol Avram le Ephron. Avram gives to Ephron. Look at those words carefully. You notice Ephron's name is missing a vav over there. Torah writes his name without a vav. Up until this point, there's been a vav. Every time you see the word Ephron, there's a vav between the resh and the nun. Here there's no vav. So Rashi brings on, well, we took away a letter from him because the guy is a no-goodnik. He said a lot, and he didn't come through in the least bit. So we took away a vav as a punishment. But it's very interesting. Look at the numerical value of Ephron when it's written without a vav. An ayin is 70. A pei is 80. How much are we up to? 150. Resh is 200. What are we up to? 350. And a nun is 50, is 400. Ephron's name equals the 400 that he took from Yaakov Avinu. Now, where else do we see the number 400? Tough is 400, correct. Where else do we see the number? 400 means you're tough, right? Where else do we find the number 400? You remember that from this year? Where else do we see the number 400? Where is there 400 in the Torah? Esav comes with 400 men. Esav comes with the number 400 always carries some sort of negative. Right? So 400 is in other terms, 400 is symbolic of the Satan has forces of 400. What do you call bad guys who go with him, which is Esav and his 400 men. So the number 400 always carries a negative connotation. The famous Gemara where the two guys bet, did you ever hear the Gemara where two guys make a bet, a wager if they could get Hillel upset, or they could get Hillel angry, the wager is for 400 zuz. They make a bet, 400 zuz, can they annoy Hillel? Did they? No, they couldn't get him. They picked on him on Erev Shabbos. This is the famous Gemara where a guy comes in on Erev Shabbos and he says, Hillel's taking a shower. He says, who around here is called Hillel? Or is anyone around here, depending on how you translate the Gemara, anyone around here named Hillel? And Hillel is the Nasi of the Jewish people. It's like going over to the White House saying, anybody around here named Barak? That's the roughly equivalent. Hillel comes out, he's in the middle of a shower. Erev Shabbos, when people are tense, and you're being interrupted in the middle of a shower. You ever take a shower at home? Somebody starts using the hot water while you're in the shower. You're in the shower, and all of a sudden somebody starts using the hot water. And then I'm sure your first name is?
Bernie.
Bernie. I'm sure, Bernie, you're at most pleasant when you're in the shower, and somebody turns and starts using the hot water, and also you get that cold stream, and you just say, hey, could you please not use the hot water? I think everybody just at their best at that point, right? That's a, turn off! It just brings out the same. I think there's an international convention. We decided how you react when somebody uses the hot water. And there's nothing like it. And there's always like that split second where you can hear the change there's a sound rhythm in the water where you hear the change and you know you're about to get blasted by cold water and you start dancing on a slick tile to get out of the way. It's a very unpleasant experience. Hillel's in the middle of a shower, wraps his head up on an Erev Shabbos when they're touching. He comes out and the guy says to him, why do Babel, I would like to ask you a question. The guy drays it out. The whole thing is drayed out over there in the Gemara, trying to get on Hillel's nerves, and he can't rattle him. He says, then what would you like to ask? Erev Shabbos, important question. Why do Babylonians have round heads? That's okay. Then he asks, why do Africans have wide feet? Why do certain nations have a certain shaped eye? These are the questions he keeps calling him out for, and he can't rattle Hillel. He can't get him upset. You can't get Hillel upset. Then the guy gets upset at the end. He says, you cost me 400 zuz. Hillel says, better I should cost you 400 zuz twice than you should get Hillel upset. So he can't get Hillel upset. He can't. My brother and I used to have contests who could be more annoying. Gentlemen, you obviously realize you're looking at the reigning world champion. So he could not annoy Hillel. He could not annoy Hillel. Okay? Ephron is the number 400. Okay? Now the commentaries ask, what happened to him? He did start out with, there's one approach that he started out with. He started out with a genuinely good heart, and he wanted to help out Avraham Avinu. He started out with the intent to do Avraham Avinu a favor and sell the field. And you sometimes find this in life where people really have good intentions, and then somewhere in the middle of the game, something changes. Now, Avraham Avinu does not want the gift for a couple of reasons. First of all, he doesn't want to owe anybody. He doesn't want to be, beholden to anybody. And number two, the commentaries explain that it has to do with the actual type of ownership you take. When you receive it as a gift, you don't have the same type of possession at a spiritual level as when you've actually purchased it. Somebody gives you a gift, there's also a sense of shame. That's one of the reasons why we have free choice. Everybody asks, why does God just, give us the reward in the world to come without putting us through the test? The answer is something called Nahama de Kisufa. Nahama de Kisufa means bread of shame. When somebody gives you a freebie, a handout, there's a sense of shame. Poor people experience a sense of shame when they're given something, and part of the goal of giving tzedakah is to do it in a way where the poor man isn't ashamed. If God would give us the reward, the world to come, without us earning it, we wouldn't, at a simple level, we wouldn't be able to enjoy it the way we do after we've earned it. When you buy something with money, there is no sense of shame. When we daven and we say the davening, please Hashem, bestow your good upon us, that means give me money so I can buy things. I don't want freebies. I don't want handouts. I don't want charity because there's a sense of shame. So at one level, Avraham does, don't do me any favors. I don't want the gift. I don't want to be beholden to you. I don't want to take the gift. Number two, I want full ownership of the cave that takes it into a different spiritual realm because I've purchased it. I genuinely own it. Okay. So that's why Avraham Avinu. Now, at the end of the day, what happened to Ephron? According to this approach, that he really did intend to do good. So what happened to him? So take a look at Pasuk Yud Aleph. Okay. Here, take a look at Pasuk Yud Aleph, top of page 108. Now let's read 3 psukim again and see how this exchange goes. Ephron says to Avraham Avinu, top of page 108, Lo Adoni Shmaini, no, listen to me, Hasada Nasati Lach, I'll give you the field, Ve'ama'ora Asher Bo Lecho Nasati, I'll give you the cave. Le'ene B'nei Ami Nasati Lach, in front of my people, I'm giving it to you, Kvor Meisecha. Again, plain meaning, he fully intends to give it to him. Top of page 108, third line. Vayishtachu Avram Lifnei Aretz, Avram bows down. Vayedaber el Ephron be'oznei ha'ma'aretz lemor. Avram says to Ephron, Achi ma talu shma'ini. Please listen to me. Now pay attention. Look at the next 5 words. Nosati kesef hasadeh kach mimeni. I'm giving you the field, the money. Please take it. The ekberes mesi sham, and then I'll bury my dead. The commentaries say Avram did like this. Take the money. Here's the money. That's what changed everything. When the money comes out, when you see the money, that's different than talking about the money. Ooh, money. All of a sudden, Ephron's a different person. I'll take it. I don't want it. Here's money. Well, what is 400 shekels between friends? All of a sudden, what happened over here? You're controlled by money. You're controlled by money. By the way, whenever you try to motivate kids, when you want to motivate your kids to do anything, and you want to try to bribe them, grease them, or promise them a gift, the best way to get the gift into the house. You want your kids to say, listen, guys, if you clean up your room for 3 days in a row, I'll get you a new bicycle. Or, a week in a row, I'll get you all right, you sure? Get the bicycle in the house. The bike is right there. Ooh. Can we clean it 7 times just today, and that'll be counted as a week? I guarantee you, everything where you want to get your kids to learn Mishnayos, if you learn Mishnayos, I'll give you 20 shekels. Put a 20 shekel bill right on the wall. Just tape it on the wall. You're going to get guys learning Mishnayos like you would not believe. Whatever you want to bribe people, get the thing in view. A person who's connected to money, I'm great in theory till I see the gelt. When you see the gelt, if you're ever trying to bribe somebody, not that you should, Jews through history have always tried bribing people, bribing their way out of things, make it concrete, show them the money. There's a very famous story, by the way. A very famous story. In Brisk, this is a great story. In Brisk, I'll tell you in a second. The commentaries, a different famous story. The commentaries say like this, there's a famous legend. Whether or not the legend actually happened or not is not clear, but there's a famous legend. Did you ever hear the story of the Rambam and the philosophers? There's a discussion, a debate between Maimonides, the Rambam, and the philosophers, whether you could train a cat to behave like a human being or not. Very famous discussion that humans are animals and cats are animals. We evolved, they evolved, everybody evolves, so we're just a more sophisticated animal. So there's a big debate between the Rambam and the philosophers. Can you train a cat to behave like a human being? So the philosopher said, yeah, the Rambam said you can't. Okay, so they took a cat, they trained the cat to be a waiter. And they worked with him for 6 months, and they trained the cat. They said to the Rambam, now watch. Okay, so they all go to this banquet. And here comes the cat, dressed like a waiter with an apron, he's walking in like this. And the philosophers are sitting there and they're gloating at the Rambam. The Rambam's just sitting there with a little half smirk on his face. And while the cat's, walking back and forth, all of a sudden the Rambam reaches into a bag and he pulls out a mouse and he throws the mouse on the floor. Next thing you know, up goes the tray and off goes the thing, and the cat's chasing the mouse around the whole room, running around the mouse, because when the cat sees the mouse, he's a cat. A person who likes money, person who's, you're into money, show him the money. That was right. That's how it works. Do you know what the word kesef? You know what the word kesef is made up of 3 letters? Very interesting. You ever hear this? Kesef is made up of 3 letters. First of all, the word kesef itself, the root of the word kesef is to desire. You ever hear that? When Yaakov Avinu is by Lavan, in Lavan's house, and Lavan notices Yaakov wants to leave, he says to Yaakov, I notice ki nichsof nichsafta leveis avicha. You have a yearning to go to your father's house. Nichsof nichsafta, that's the word kesef. Kesef means yearning. Zahav, which is gold, is an Aramaic word. Ze, this, hav, give me. That's what gold is. Right? Zahav. Kesef is desire. Zahav is this, give me. Hav in Aramaic means give. Give, hav, havli, give me. So the word kesef is made up of 3 letters. Now pay attention carefully. The first letter is a chaf. You know what a kaf is? A kaf, chaf can be pronounced. A kaf means a hand, a palm. The first letter of kesef is a hand. The middle letter is a samach, which is round, which represents the head, which is the thoughts. And the last letter is a pei, which is your mouth, which is your speech. That means that in speech, in thought, and in action, your hand, we're focused on kesef. And so don't blame yourself if you have a connection. Don't blame yourself if you like money. If you like money, that's the essence of money. Thought, speech, and action, we're focused on money. You ever want to get people into a good conversation you don't know what to talk about money. Everybody will talk to you about money. Right? The older they are, the more they'll talk to you about it. Right? Oh, money, yeah. Now, I always learn, when you're talking to younger people, talk about sports or entertainment. Everybody, that's what young people are. Sports, entertainment, music. When I give a shiur to a group of older men, so I always use money as an example. Because that everybody knows. What do I know? I'm just a rabbi. Then you get, that's when all the experts come out. Just use money as the example. So Avraham Avinu flashes the money. Oh, that's what changed everything. The equation just changed, because now all of a sudden Ephron sees that's his green kryptonite. Okay, that's the Achilles heel. And therefore Ephron throws everything out the window and he goes for the money. That's what the commentators explain. There's an interesting story in Brisk, back in Europe. So a new police commissioner took over. Now again, they were always tough and anti-Semitic on the Jews, and Jews got through with bribery. So the new police commissioner came in, and they made some sort of decree against the Jewish people. And the Jewish people said that we got a problem, because normally the past commissioner, we were able to bribe our way out. But this guy we can't bribe. So Reb Chaim Brisker, who was the Brisker Rav, was a brilliant man. He said, all right, I'm going to have to bribe him. They said, you can't. You're going to get in trouble for attempting to bribe him. He says, just collect the money from the town. Everybody put 1,000 rubles together. Give me the money, and I'll deal with the guy. So Reb Chaim Brisker comes into the guy. He's got 1,000 rubles with him. He puts on, it's the middle of July, he puts on a very, very heavy coat. And he walks in with 1,000 rubles. And the guy says to him, who are you? I'm the rabbi of the Jewish people. He says, listen, there's a decree, and I don't know how things used to be around here, but don't worry, you can't buy me, and I'm not changing the decree. Chaim Brisker says, I didn't come to bribe you. I didn't come to bribe you. So he says, why did you come? He says, well, I just want to tell you, I had a dream last night. My mother came to me in a dream, and she told me that there's going to be a big blizzard tomorrow. The guy looks at him, the guy says, what? He says, my mother came to me in a dream, she said there's going to be a blizzard, and that's why I'm wearing a coat. He's sweating profusely. It's a July day, and he's wearing a big, heavy coat. He says, your mother told you there's going to be a blizzard? He said, yeah. Well, he says, well, there's not going to be a blizzard. Your mother, with all due respect, is out of her mind. So Chaim says, no, if she said it in a dream, it's going to be a blizzard. The guy says, listen, there's not going to be a blizzard. Chaim says, you want to bet? The guy says, yes, I'll bet. He says, okay, I'll bet you 1,000 rubles there's going to be a blizzard. He says, 1,000 rubles you'll bet there's going to be a blizzard in the middle of July and with blue skies? He says, yes. He says, you sure? He says, yes. So he puts down the 1,000. He says, okay, I'll bet you. So, okay, they make the bet. The next day there's no blizzard. So Chaim, he says, here, I have to pay off the bet. Give him 1,000 rubles. Turns around, he walks out. Police commissioner turns again and says, boy, that Jewish rabbi is pretty smart. Jewish rabbi is pretty smart. Huh? And he annulled the decree. Right? The trick is to get the money into the hands. Right? Figure out a way to get the money into the hands. And he chopped what happened. You understand? That's what happened to Ephron. Ephron didn't, he saw the money, everything changed. That's the rule. Okay, now let's go on to the next section. Skip down. Oh, 1 second. There's one more point here. After this entire conversation, the commentaries point out the following. Go down to Pasuk 19. It's 6 lines from the bottom of the page. Pasuk 19. Ve'acharechein. Everybody see that? After this entire conversation, Avram bows, talks, bows. Ve'acharechein kovar Avram es Sora ishto. After that, Avram buried his wife. El ma'ora stea machpela pnei mamrehi chevron. Okay. So Avram buries his wife. So the commentaries say, the Torah starts over here. The parsha begins with the death of Sarah. Then you get into this whole give and take in a conversation. Avram bows, he plays, please listen to me, Then you get back, you almost forget what's going on over here. There's a negotiation, there's a dead body over here. His wife is lying there. That means the man is grief-stricken. And he's conducting the conversation. Then after it says, and then he buries his wife. So the commentators say, you see over here what kind of self-control we're talking about. Remember, there's a dead body to be buried. Most people under these circumstances, hey, you're agitated and you lose it at a certain point. Come on, stop draying around. You're because of your own pain, you start taking. Avraham Avinu maintains the exact dignity, the same self-control that he's displayed in his entire life. Even under the most dire circumstances, Avraham Avinu displays the same self-control. That's the lesson here. Afterwards, he buries his wife. He's waiting to bury her. Well, what happened all along? How did you manage to talk politely and everything? Yeah, that's exactly the rule. Under the most difficult circumstances, Avraham Avinu maintains his dignity and his midos as a human being. Okay. Now, the Torah goes on to the first shidduch in history. Okay, now we're going to make a shidduch. Right, up until now, shidduchim, how people meet. So, we're going to go to the first shidduch in history. Bottom of page 108. Ve'avram zakein bo bayamim. Avram was an elderly man. He had come along in days. V'Hashem beirach es Avram bakol. God has blessed Avram with everything. So the commentaries point out also, some people get old because they get old prematurely because of aggravation. They're Cub fans or whatever it is. And Avraham Avinu gets old because he's old. Avraham Avinu is getting older. And Hashem has blessed him with everything. Hashem bakol. And the numerical value of bakol is 52, which is the equivalent of ben. He's got a son. Yitzhak had been the Atiyakeda. Yitzhak his son. Time to find a shidduch. Vayomer Avram el avdo zakan beso hamoshel bekol asher lo. Avram says to his trusty servant, Simna yodcha tachas yirechi. Put your hand under my thigh. V'ashbiacha b'Hashem elokei hashamayim v'elokei ha'oretz. I will make you take an oath. Asher lo sikach isha livnim b'mnosa knani asher anochi yosef b'kirbo. I don't want a son. I don't want you to take a wife for my son from the Canaanites that are living in this land. Okay, you have to go down to my people and get me a wife or get Yitzhak a wife from my people back in Chora. Okay, what is this oath? Eliezer is going to make an oath. So Rashi points out that when you make an oath, it's normally you hold a Bible in your hand, you hold a holy object. They have no holy objects right now. There's only one holy object here, which is a circumcision. Eliezer did not take hold literally of Avram's circumcision. It would be a little bit uncouth. But he puts his hand under the thigh. The thigh always represents that area. You put your hand under the thigh, and that represents the connection to that mitzvah of bris milah, the holy object that you make the vow the holy object apparently is supposed to make you more solemn. I think in courts in the United States, court, if I'm not mistaken, you don't have to swear. You don't have to take an oath. I think you're allowed to affirm, not affirm. You're allowed to affirm in the United States courts. I think isn't that the law? You could affirm. I affirm, I don't swear, I affirm. Okay, so Avraham Avinu says to Eliezer, put your hand under my thigh. Okay, that's the idea. What's the symbolism here of making an oath? That's one idea, is that you're near the holy object. What's the symbolism of putting your hand under a person's thigh? What do you think is the symbolism? You're making an oath, put your hand under my thigh. I'm making you take an oath that you're going to do what I want you to do. What do you think is the symbolism there?
Yitzhak and Yaakov, Yaakov was putting him down, whatever. Any meaning to that?
Yaakov and who? Yaakov and the angel.
And also by when they were in the stomach of.
Okay, that's the foot. There he's holding on to the foot. There Esau's holding on to his foot. Right, when he's born, he grabs onto his. We'll see the significance of that in a little while. What's the significance? Put your hand under the thigh. What does the thigh do for the body?
What was it?
The thigh is the support system of the body. If I'm sitting in your hands, symbolically, I'm relying on you. You're holding me in your hands. What's Avraham Avinu saying to him? Put your hands under my thigh means I'm totally reliant on you right now. I am in your hands. The best way to show you're in your hands, put your hands under my thigh. Symbolically, I'm in your hands. I need you to vow, and I need you to carry out my wishes. And the wishes are that you're going to take the right, what do you call it, the right woman for me. Okay? Now, Vashviach makes him take a vow, and I want you to go back to that land and find a wife for my son. Okay? So Eliezer swears, and he goes off to the land. Now, what is it? Well, this will stop today, but because it's a whole new section tomorrow. What is the quality that Yitzhak is going to look for in a wife for Yitzhak? Eliezer is going to look for it. What quality is he looking for? This is the defining quality of a Jewish woman. What's the quality?
Tznius.
Tznius is certainly a quality, and we'll see that she is modest. But what is the quality that he's looking for that he said? Was it? Chesed. Does she a kind person? She's also going to be beautiful, and she's also going to be tznius, and her father's got a lot of money. All the Jewish qualifications, right? Bottom line, she's a balas chesed. She does chesed. We'll see, not tomorrow, on Sunday when we'll continue with this, we'll see the subtlety of the chesed that Rivka, the type of chesed that Rivka does. That's the subtlety of the chesed. Now, this is a very important thing there's a very important thing to look for. When you guys are going out and you're looking to get married, you have to look for certain signs in a wife. Obviously, there has to be communication. There's got to be a certain degree of attraction, usually not as much as men think. But there's got to be a certain degree of attraction, a certain level of communication. You got to be on the same page. You got to have similar goals and everything else. But this is the woman who you want raising your children. If you're sitting with a girl, she could have all the qualifications. Her father's got money. She's attractive. You communicate well. But while you're sitting at a table in a restaurant, you're sitting at a table, if a bug starts crawling across the table, she goes, right? That's not the wife. That's not the mother of your children. That's not what I'm looking for in a wife. Now, if her father has a lot of money, so there's certain things we overlook, obviously. But you understand, you're looking for somebody who's going to create your home. This is the person who's going to create your home. The trademark of the Jewish woman is chesed. The trademark of the Jewish woman is chesed. That's what she's going to instill. That's the value. That's what you're looking for in a Rivka. That's what you're looking for in a wife. That's what we're looking for Yitzhak. Now, remarkably, Yitzhak is the opposite, because Yitzhak is a midah of din, gvura. Gvura is strict. There's never been a couple in history that are in the opposite extremes. Yitzhak doesn't mean he wasn't a kind person, but his inherent midah is the midah of din, the midah of gvura. But the wife that he's going to be looking for, and that she is going to take the place of Sarei Menu. What was Sarei Menu's trademark? Chesed. That is the trademark of the Jewish woman. That's what we're looking for, and that's the sign Eliezer is going to say to God. Please, the girl who comes out and offers me water and waters my camel, that's the girl that you've selected for Yitzhak. We'll talk about this. There's a lot to talk about, also signs, how to read signs, and that sort of thing, which people sometimes make mistakes with. Okay.